Money doesn't just come from one place. It drips, trickles, flows, and floods into our lives in different ways. Welcome to Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood, a podcast that explores the power of multiple income streams. We've got merch. That's right. Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood t-shirts are officially here, and they're as comfy as they are conversation starting. Grab yours at the link in our show notes. All right. I am very excited today because we have Victoria and Amber here with Bean Water. And first of all, what a great name. Second of all, it's coffee. And as many of you know, many of our listeners know, I'm obsessed with coffees. So it couldn't be a better day for us. Welcome, Victoria and Amber. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is great. So, the Bean Water coffee trailer is out kind of in my neck of the woods. It's real close to my neck of the woods sometimes because it moves. And Victoria and I know each other from, I've coached three kids now, which is pretty fun. So we've known each other for a while, and my daughter and her twin boys are in the same grade. So
yeah,
pretty fun stuff. So let's just start. How does someone decide they're going to start a coffee trailer?
Yeah. Well, you get burnout from teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you go, I've always wanted to. And she goes, me too.
You're right. That's pretty much how that happened. Yeah. Victoria and I taught with each other for a while. And I think that we were just hitting the end of our enthusiasm. And we both have always been huge coffee drinkers. And I even remember when I was in grad school, I applied to be a barista to so many places, but I didn't have a flexible enough schedule and I had zero experience. So I didn't get any of them. And I was like, maybe I'll just make myself a barista.
Yeah. I love that. That's how I started writing. Like, no one's going to let this guy write. I'm like, well, I'm going to go write.
I'm just going to do it and see what happens. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
So was this like self-taught where you like in your kitchen with your Tarani syrups and like making concoctions, or like where did that start? Or did you get some training or education? How does that process even work? I may be interested. But not because I even want to be a barista, but I like want to learn to make my home drinks. I need to know, how do you get this education?
Funny. I feel like both of us are just really inquisitive people. And so just having like watched people make our coffee over the years, I feel like we both were already sort of in tune with what, now that we've been in coffee for a little while, I definitely know the difference between when somebody has been a coffee drinker for a long time versus when somebody's like, I'm just going to give it a try and see what it is. Like, even just knowing the difference in the terminology, it's like a whole language in and of itself. And like, we already both knew that. We already both kind of had general ideas. And Amber is obsessed with like latte art and the science behind it. And so she's done classes and research and just all the things that go along with that. And then after we both just like dipped out of teaching and said, we're going to just give it a go, and got ourselves these like barista jobs at completely different places. And let's just figure it out.
Yeah. Our paths to learning were so different because we're based in different areas. And we were trying to gain the skills while learning what it would take to open up our own place. So we had these tandem paths with the same end goal. And so we both just kind of took whatever job we could that would help support those skills. And and then one day Victoria was like, enough is enough. I'm ready. To make this happen.
So it definitely, our dream changed immensely from what we had intended initially, which was almost in line with our teacher roots. We had intended to open an indoor, brick-and-mortar business. We wanted to have students, especially in this community where we really, really need a good basis for people to connect. We really wanted to have a spot where people could come in and connect. We could help with, math homework and tutoring and like just groups of kids doing things like that in a great setting like a coffee shop. But it's very hard to get a brick and mortar in this area in particular. And at some point I was like, listen, we're going mobile. That's the way we can get in and in with the community and in with the coffee. We're just going to go for it. And I'm a very much like jump in blind feet first kind of gal. And Amber is much more the like, we have to think about this. We have to make sure it's going to
Yes.
be right. So there was somewhere where we met in the middle and just went for it.
Tell us.
I am still like shocked though, because when we pivoted, we had this whole idea of this brick and mortar, and we were trying to go through the permitting process, and it was just getting really expensive, and it wasn't really panning out the way we wanted. And then when Victoria's like, let's go mobile, it was like between choosing to go mobile and buying, it was a turnkey business for the most part. We had to make some modifications, but between that and open was like 6 weeks. So it was really, really fast when we made that pivot.
Tell us what kind of teachers you were.
We were both math professors. So we came from math. We met in grad school. We both got our masters in math, and then stayed on in the department. And I think ultimately, I don't want to speak for you, Victoria, but I think her goal was to stay teaching, right? That was the goal. Like when
Yeah.
we first started teaching. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had intended to do that until retirement. There was definitely no doubt in my mind that that would be my path from like
Yeah.
childhood. Like that was my path forever, for always. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. That was never my intended path, but I found myself pregnant and graduating, and the head of the math department was like, "We have a lot of need for classes if you want to stay on and teach." And so I just kind of ended up teaching out of necessity. Not that I didn't love it. There were certain components that I really loved about teaching, but it wasn't the end goal until it needed to be.
So where does the courage come from to go from what is probably fairly stable, good benefits, retirement, all the things, to say, what does Washington need more of? A coffee shop.
All that courage came from Victoria.
Oh, I think I've heard a saying, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's something akin to like courage and stupidity are just like a blink apart. You know, like, you really don't know until you know. No, so I would actually say though, having the ability to be courageous is such a privilege that I am so grateful to have. And it really comes from having the support that not everybody has. And so to be able to jump out of a job like that means that I have a safety net of support around me that is just massive. I mean, between Amber and my husband and my children, who it was really interesting. I think the hardest part of switching, and like you mentioned, a lot of things that we think about now, like, you know, benefits and like healthcare and all those things were super important to me. But I think the hardest part for me was my kids and my husband and I have always been proud that I was a teacher and a math teacher at a university. And that's a very prestigious position to be in. And it was really hard to step away from that and choose to walk into a minimum wage job, working at a market, just, you know, doing something that I knew wasn't what I was capable of in terms of income, but with an end goal in mind. And it was really interesting because my daughter one time told me, she was like, really proud to tell people that you're a teacher. And so this is going to be kind of weird. And that hit home for me really, really hard. But now she gets to be really proud to tell people that her mom owns a business, you know? So it was a trade-off that has worked out really well, but it was definitely like, there was a huge safety net built in. And also, I don't know if you are aware or not, but it is very easy to go back to teaching. They have asked us both countless times to come back. So that helps too. When you know that they will welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, I had a sit down with at that point he was the dean of sciences upon exiting, and he even said, you know, the bridge is not burned here. So if you ever want to come back, please reach out. And I think to me that was incredibly comforting because I am the more cautious of the two. So this is still an ongoing fight with me to just pull the trigger on a lot of aspects in my life. So I need that reassurance. And I take a lot of that from Victoria because she walks in it with so much confidence. Like, we're just going to figure it out as we go. And that's exactly what's happening. Like, we have to figure it out as we go.
That's fascinating. And I mean, yes, it probably helps to have a bit of that job security for the bravery piece. But I love how you like unraveled the identity work in order to do this. Like you said, you're like, we're going to go and get the education. And it's, you know, that's okay to be a minimum wage worker while we're building this because we know we're building
Right.
something.
Yeah. With the
So then walk us through a little bit because you're a mobile business, so not the brick and mortar. And I agree that's a great way to go, especially where we live. For listeners who are not familiar, it is ridiculous to get any type of commercial space here. Also, mobile businesses are pretty popular here as well, like coffee carts and food trucks and things are definitely do very well in our area. So walk us through a little bit of that. Like, what was the journey to that? And how do you even go about acquiring a car? Do you build it yourself? Did you buy one? What does that whole thing look like? And that's not easy to set that up. So I'm just curious, like, where that all came from.
We got really, really lucky, actually. So initially, I had never really, I don't know, we talked about it a little bit going mobile in the very, very beginning. And we opened our LLC 4 years ago, I think, but we've only been in business for a year. So we had very high intentions of opening very early on, and things went sideways for a lot of time. So we initially had talked about it and decided to go against it. Was not for us. We weren't interested. And then a really good friend of ours that I was working with at a place in Sumas opened a mobile espresso cart, and she was like, "Just do it. It's great." But she had never intended to go brick and mortar. She always wanted to be like free to roam and go wherever she wanted. And her daughter was like moving states away, and she was like, "I can go visit her. I can take my business. I can do whatever I need. It's so freeing." And I was like, "But I don't want that. I need stability and community." And community to me is like top priority in my life. Absolutely 100% hands down top priority. And I wanted to be here. And so it didn't occur to me that I could still be here and be mobile. And that was like a weird, and there's so many things you don't consider when you're mobile. Like, for example, just driving with a truck and trailer has been a great experience for both of us to learn. And
a great experience.
well, it's
It has been a learning experience.
we are all for educating ourselves, if nothing else. There has been,
100%.
we learn so much every day.
I want you to continue on with your path with what you're saying here with Melissa's question, but I would argue that you being mobile has made you more local than if you were just in one spot. And before you hopped on, I was telling the story of you cheering for your boys running around the track from the Beanwater trailer. So as you're talking about, what it's like to have the mobile, why don't you talk about some of the places that you end up and that sort of thing?
It's so true. We have ended up so many cool places in the community all over Whatcom County. And we were in Skagit County, actually, and learned the very hard way that it turns out your health permit in Whatcom County is not transferable to Skagit County. So that was really cool to figure out, and quite expensive. It all turned out okay. Again, a learning experience. That was so funny. The boys, so I have twin boys, and they ran track this year, and we were invited to come to the track meets at the Beanwater, and it was so cool to be there. But my boys were running in the one and only race they did together. And so there was a man and his twin daughters standing at the window when my boys were getting ready to come by. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but I have to scream over your head." And so they stepped away, and I just like went for it. And I am a very loud cheerer. So I was screaming for both of them. So exciting. And it was a really close race. So it was just absolutely fantastic. And then it was so funny. I was like, "Those are my twins." And nobody ever believes me because they're like, they don't look anything alike. So it was pretty great. But it's definitely one of those experiences where you really are. You're right, Tony. I think you're right. We have really been able to be involved in the community in a different sort of way.
Talk about some of the other places you go. I was looking, you have a bunch of stuff coming up. So in addition to your kind of, let's call it home bases, where you're at the, North Fork Community Library and then at the Glen at Maple Falls, but then you've got events that you're going to. How do you get into those? How do you choose them? What's that world like?
That's been kind of one of the best parts of this journey is figuring out basically who we want to be or where we want to be, and understanding that we have a lot of control over those things. Part of the reason we get into a lot of these spaces, though, is because Victoria is so community based and she knows everybody. So it's awesome because people like she has these connections and then she can reach out and then those people tell people so they reach out to her. And in the beginning, we were trying to say yes to everything. And I think we're still a little bit in that phase, but we're starting to hone down to what it is that we should be saying yes to, things that really benefit our business or benefit the community. Um, so we're still developing what the identity is about what events we say yes to, but it's been so fun because we've been able to be involved in stuff that I didn't even know where it was going. I didn't know these things were happening or meeting new communities that are amazing and
Like the
fun.
Renaissance Fair.
The Renaissance Fair. I've never been to a Renaissance Fair a day in my life, and we had such a blast. And what a fun community! My family came up, and that community took them in and taught them how to use weapons, and they showed them all the garb. And they intended on being there just to visit us at the trailer, and they were there all day long. And this is something they would have never been exposed to before. I'm incredibly grateful that we have the ability to be involved with these new experiences because it opens up my world.
And the Bean Water team is not bashful. So if you follow them on Instagram, there's some entertainment factor there too. I think the Renaissance Fair, you guys showed up dressed up and ready to
Oh,
go.
fully dressed. And we intend to wear those outfits again. So we will give you a heads up when that occurs. I will absolutely be wearing that on a random Tuesday. You're welcome.
You can do like theme days in your car,
Yes.
in your talk, like romantic-y themed or fantasy themed, Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. You
Exactly.
can do all kinds of theme. That would be fun. Speaking of social media, that was going to be my next question. So obviously being mobile, you're in different spaces. Some are locked, I assume, right? You're like, we'll be here Tuesday, we'll be here Wednesday. Some are just, we're going to pop up here and there. And so one, are you using your social media mainly to communicate that? And two, how much does social media play into people coming there? Because other than relying on, I guess, the folks that are in that area, going to the library or wherever, how else are you drawing clients in?
Oh, that's a great question. Social media is definitely more of our job than I realized it was going to be initially. I knew we would need to do it, but marketing is a real thing, and those people earn all the money they make because it is hard work, and we have to do it every single day, and we're not very good at it. We're we're really trying, but it's like it is a skill. It is a skill set that is like something again that we're learning. But there are definitely people who are really, really good at it. And there's a reason why some people go viral and some people don't, you know? One of the things I will say is that we have an incredible mascot. Our mascot beanie. If you've seen our logo, our mascot beanie is he is the star of the show, and he shows up in so many different ways. And if you follow us, like I encourage you to really start paying attention to how he shows up because he does everything, and he is in our weekly calendars and our monthly calendars. We post every week and every month to a full calendar. We put it on the Bean Water trailer so you can see it there when you come in. You can see it posted and like linked at the top of our page on Facebook and Instagram. We have a schedule. We have a website. We have a schedule that we post, and usually Google. We're on Google, but our Google address, you have to have a physical address to be on Google. So our Google physical address is at the North Fork Library because that's where we're usually at. But word of mouth is another big thing. So it turns out, we have a few customers that are very well linked within the community, and they are always thrilled to share the word that we are going to be in a new place or a different place or whatever. And as you can tell, I'm quite a chatter. So I'm really good at letting people know this is where we're going to be. This is where we're going to be. And so they get to hear from me a lot whenever they come through.
And it's humbling too. In Bellingham, where I didn't expect to see any of our regulars because we're not close enough to Bellingham typically for people to go out of their way that far. But we were doing this event, and lo and behold, some of our regulars walked up to the window, and I'm just like, this is so out of place. But how amazing is it that people love us so much that they're willing to follow us if they have, the time to do that. So it's really, it just kind of fills your heart, right? Like we're making an impact in ways that I wasn't expecting. And that's incredibly fulfilling.
Well, I think that's a testament to it really is the experience of coming to get whatever. Yesterday I stopped in. It was actually kind of dumb luck. I was up doing something for a writing project. And so I drove by the library and was able to pull in and get a dirty chai. But it is more about that experience than just getting the coffee, right? Everybody can make coffee at home, but that experience of going and seeing the familiar face and, getting the logo on the cup and just having that little conversation and that human connection, I think everybody misses so much. I have a few things I want to get through, but it's pretty out of order. But you mentioned Beanie. How did you come up with the name, and then how did you come up with the logo? Because the logo is great.
I don't remember
Yeah,
how
I
the
came
name
up-
came up. I don't know. Do you?
I think it was
I-
just a natural evolution.
Yeah, and even the bean water. I know like you came up with the bean, but was it before or after we read that book where they talk about the bean water? I think it was before, right? And then we
Yeah.
read this book.
I just remember one day I was like, "Oh, you know what? It's not that deep. It's just bean water, right?"
Yeah.
I think we took that and ran with
that
it
was like
because
it.
ultimately that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's just coffee bean water, and it's
Yeah.
delicious and amazing. And why not just get to the roots and call it what it is?
Yeah, totally. And then we had a customer who was like, "Well, yeah, it's either bean water or leaf water," and I was like, "Yes." So now I tell people all the time, "Well, we just have hot bean water and hot leaf water. You take your pick."
That's so funny. And Beanie was such a funny. So my husband made the logo, and he probably doesn't
Poor
want
guy.
me to put this out there just because he did some classes. He went to college for marketing and realized that he didn't necessarily want to go in that direction, but he's actually really good at it. So of course we're going to use every free resource available to us. So I
100%.
turned to my husband and said, "Please help us make a logo." And yeah, that poor guy. You see, Victoria and I are very colorful people, very colorful people. And my husband is very simplistic. So he gave us so many renditions of logos. And every time we're like, no, no, no. And then I was like, I want it to be like, I want to be a sticker. I want it to be fun and have all the color. And he's like, "Amber, that is not the definition of a logo." And I was like, "I don't think that I care. that is not the definition of a logo." Because I want it to represent us and who we are. And we're both very colorful people. So this poor guy, we got there and we love it. But, maybe almost divorce,
I
Yeah, he almost for sure disowned me because the last thing I was like, he has to have red shoelaces on his hiking boots. So I was like, okay, it's almost, we're so close, but he needs red shoelaces. And Marcus he did it and he did not complain. He didn't say a word. And then later when we were, looking at each other face, he goes, "I had to do every single one of those shoelaces individually. I almost threw the whole thing away."
Yeah, he went like pixel by pixel to change this color.
Yeah.
And I also want to add that there were iterations of red because the first red he created wasn't red enough. And so then we had to redo it. Anyway, it was yeah, that whole thing is thanks to my husband who's willing to love us enough to put in the effort and listen to us. Great. But we got there and we love
We
it.
got there. Yeah.
I love that
And-
so much. We the I don't care that this isn't a logo thing, but my wife and I, when we first bought a hair salon, our first hair salon, we were in our 20s and we buy this thing and I go in there and I sit down and we go, this is how we're going to be doing things now. And this person that had been working at the hair salon for I don't know how long goes, "Well, that's not how it's done in the hair world." And I go, "I'm not from the hair world." And I just think that, we'd never have anything new if nobody was willing to change what a logo is. And I want to point out here when you talk about colorful, Victoria, I think is the first person to ever be on the podcast while being outside. 2, she's wearing tie-dyed overalls right now. So
Amber made. She
yeah.
she made these. So they're tie-dye rainbow overalls that Amber made. So,
Just one of my side hustles. I tie dye on the side. If anybody's looking for tie dye, I'm pretty fabulous.
That's amazing. I love how you were using these resources for your business. And then it all came together. Do you both work alone, or do you have employees at this point? And if no employees, is there like a growth plan to hire? Where are you at with that right now?
That's
That's a
a great
great
question. Yes.
question. Do you want to take it, Victoria?
We have one singular employee that isn't us. It's usually us. Our one singular employee is my 16-year-old daughter, who started with us when she was 15 last year, and now she's worked herself up to being able to work independently for short periods of time. She doesn't drive the truck and trailer, so she can't do like a whole day by herself. But otherwise, it's just the two of us and her. So when we have really big events, we have the three of us in there. But it's kind of a three-butt trailer. There's not really a lot of room for anybody else. There is a little bit of a plan for some hiring, just for scenarios where initially so we're both adventurers and we have these great families that love to adventure with us. And we would love to make it to a place where we can go together as families on an adventure without having to close the business for, a days on end. So there is definitely a goal for that in mind, or like emergency situations where we both have something happening that we need to close for a day, or whatever it might be. It would be really nice if we had like a backup person. But I think we're almost kind of looking for a unicorn at this point, somebody who can drive a truck and trailer, handle the stress of it, has enough training that they can manage without one of us there. So that's a little bit of a unicorn.
Mhm. That makes sense. And then also, because I haven't had the pleasure of coming out to your truck yet, but I need to make a I need to make a trip now. Um, what do you sell there? So obviously coffee, tea, but are you also selling like breakfast sandwiches, pastries, anything like that? I'm curious about the margins on those things, because I hear a lot about in coffee, it's like sometimes people will keep small margins on the drinks and then they'll upsell to other things. So what's been your experience with that?
Well, our menu, so we do coffee and tea, and we have it's called Tiki Breeze Energy, which is a plant-based energy. It's similar to Lotus, but it's a local company. They're out of Federal Way. Amazing company, by the way. Just love them. And then we have lemonade, and we have an iced tea and Italian sodas, all the usual like suspects that are, you would expect from a coffee trailer. And then we recently brought on breakfast sandwiches and croissants. We have a ham and jack croissant and a sun-dried pesto tomato croissant, which is just absolutely delicious. And scones, and then, gosh, what else? What am I missing?
We have bagels, and then we have the girl and dog cookies.
Yeah.
The girl and dog cookies. How could I forget?
Meredith
So
has
good.
been on the podcast.
Yeah, those are delicious. She just started this new one. It's a dirt jumper, and it is one of the best things I've ever had. I happened to pick them up for the very first time after I had gone on a run and my son was on a bike ride, and she had left us some samples of that one. And they're this just like hearty monster cookie with like sea salt on top. And so as soon as we got there, we got to eat one. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten
It is
immediately after a
so
run.
good. Yes.
That sounds amazing. So you
And then
do have some outside vendors, but then you're making some of the food in house as well.
the food comes from our roaster is Pioneer Roasters out of Clayellum. And that is also kind of a connection. The owners of Pioneer Roasters are the parents of one of the kids that my son played soccer with. And so in passing, they mentioned that they roast. And I went to Victoria and I was like, I'm happy to test other roasters. I think we need to give everybody a fair shot, but let's throw Pioneer into the lineup. And we both really enjoyed the coffee. So it worked out beautifully, but they also do full kitchen. So we wholesale through Pioneer for our beans and also our breakfast sandwiches and scones.
That's convenient.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's been a wonderful
it's
relationship,
wonderful.
honestly.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
wonderful.
But
That's
Victoria,
great.
you could probably talk more about on that. You had asked about margins. You probably know more about the margins.
Yeah, it would be really hard to tell, right? So, I mean, it's hard because the issue we have right now is that the cost of everything is changing so rapidly.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so we do a much smaller markup on food than we do on drink, because just based on the product and the cost and things, but everything is changing so rapidly right now. And we have such high overhead with because we run a generator. And so the gas to run the generator, I just filled our gas cans today. and it was over $100, and that's for a week. So so it's definitely we have a much higher margin on drinks than food. Food is kind of a like substitute. Oh, we also just started selling fraps. I forgot about that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we just started
fraps.
doing this week. Yeah, and that's been a really fun new. It's fun to do new things. It's fun, and like
It really
the
is.
customers get so excited about it, and they're so patient with us while we try new things and see what
Yeah.
works. And
That's
so
good.
that's been really fun. Yeah.
I
Do
think
you
one
do
of the hardest.
seasonal okay.
No,
Go
go
ahead,
for
April.
it. Do you what? No, what?
Do you do like seasonal drops or monthly drops? Like
both
for
ways.
like how
Yes.
do you plan that out? Because I know that's a big piece
I
of marketing.
I love being a creative mind behind new drinks. And so I think that's one of my strengths, like one of the few I bring to this relationship. Actually, Victoria's amazing in every aspect, but I love making drinks. So that's just I kind of try to when I'm creating these seasonal menus, I try to pull from what is like naturally in season or something like in the winter it's got to have a cozy feel, so we're gonna have like more cinnamon and more maple, and then the summer it's gonna be more fruit and florals, and then we spend a whole day taste testing some of the ideas that I come up with, and some
Testing.
of them are not winners. I will not lie to you. So sometimes it sounds great in my head, and we both taste it, and we're like, that's not gonna work." But we do come out with seasonal menus and holiday menus for almost every like major holiday season.
And how do you get an invite to the taste test day? Just kidding.
Honestly, it's so funny you asked that because what'll happen
It's
is that
funny.
somebody shows up and we go, if you're not freaked out by germs, like you can totally try the things that we've been tasting all morning.
I'm not.
It's not true. All you have to do is show up on the day we're doing taste testing, and we're happy to share.
That's
We always have it's like how many drinks can you really drink in one day, when we're making like
All of
15,
them.
like neither of us.
All of them, because I have a secret that caffeine doesn't affect me at all. So I think I
Yeah,
just
that's
ruined my
Amber
body
too.
as a child because I would drink pots of it as a child. And
This-
then now I can't, like I can drink just voluminous amounts of coffee and I feel nothing. So I can drink them all day. So we'll
You're
set that aside.
perfect to
but-
call in when we need more. All right, perfect. I will write your name down.
That's crazy. Lindsay barely lets me have coffee. Having that dirty chai yesterday at the hour that I had it, because I must have been like, I don't know, what was it? Oh, it was close to
was like-
1 or something.
They're close to one, yeah.
I wasn't tired at all when I went to bed. I have caffeine so infrequently. I'm already a hyper person. And yeah, Lindsay's like, "You sure you don't want decaf?" I'm like, "Heck no, if I'm having coffee, I'm gonna enjoy the fly." But
Yeah.
yeah, it affects me like crazy. Well, you're talking about like, making the drinks and all the different things. We've talked about having business partners on the podcast in the past with different people, and talk about like the division of labor and how that works and how you are able to manage that without hating each other.
This is a tough subject for me because I don't get as much hands-on as I'd like. I've had to kind of accept that the role that I have right now is not what I want it to be. And for now, that's going to be okay. Quite frankly, Victoria does most of the heavy lifting all day, every day. She's the one on site. She lives in the community, and she's able to deal with everything on the fly. I live 3 hours away right now. So there is an eventual goal for me to get up there. But like Victoria mentioned earlier, we started this process a long time ago where it seemed much more feasible for me to move. And then it took so long to get up and going for various reasons that the economy changed and my family's commitments changed. And so for us to up and move became a much bigger hurdle. So right now I do not nearly as much as I want to, but I like to do the creative side and try to do
All the
some
creative. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so grateful for that. We have very different strengths. So I
Yeah.
think that really, really helps. Like it makes it like you have so much creativity. So like when she says some of the drinks are really, really bad, almost all of the ones that I fall into that. It's just the creativity is hard for me. I'm a very colorful person, but I don't do the coloring, So it's definitely it's wonderful to have that like different strengths. And I'm also very indecisive. So and Amber can make a decision when I need her to because she's very good at supporting someone who needs support, no matter what it is. That's a huge strength in our partnership is like when I hit a wall, I know that I can say, like, can you just help me make a decision? And she will absolutely make the decision no matter what it is. Even though we all run into that decision fatigue, it's nice because I know I can just be like, I just can't pick which cookies we're ordering from Girl and Dog. And she'll say this one and this one. And then that's it. And I don't have to think twice about it. And there's definitely been animosity. I mean, for sure. You know, anytime you're in a partnership, you run into like, I think one of the things that we have that's a really amazing strength is that we have been friends for what, 15, 16 years? 15 years. So I think my daughter was 1 and she's 6, almost 17. So almost 16 years. We
Yes.
have been, Amber is absolutely my person. And I don't know that there are words strong enough to say, like, this is the person that I know that has my back. So even when I'm frustrated or she's frustrated, if it comes down to it, like I love her with my whole heart. And there's no business that will make that change.
Well, that's amazing. Especially because you hear lots of stories about partnerships that can go awry. So it sounds like you fill in each other's strengths or weaknesses, which is like the perfect way. And you can manage conflict, which is like obviously any partnership's going to have some kind of conflict. But
Totally.
Yeah, we went into it with this idea that we have to assume good intentions from the other person always, which is sometimes difficult. I am much more sensitive than Victoria is, so sometimes I need her to check me. Like you know, she'll be like, I feel like I can't say this because then you react this way. I'm like, well, I didn't realize that I was doing that. I'm so sorry. You know, and I think ultimately I pride the strength in our personal relationship, and I also want nothing but success for her, which naturally bleeds into a successful business. And so sometimes I have to believe that sometimes we don't agree on stuff, and
Totally.
I also know that she wants nothing but the best for the business as well, and so I have to have faith that whatever she wants to do is okay, even even if I'm like, and like that even goes back to the mobile part. I was really hesitant about that because we had this dream initially where we'd have the brick and mortar, and it needed to pivot. And like hindsight, that was 100% the right choice, but it was very difficult for me to accept because I don't really like change a lot. And so I just love that I can trust that her thought process is logical, reasonable, and for the best. And like she's always coming from a good place. And that does help me relax a little bit when things are going a little awry. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but I trust her implicitly. And that's like, I just think that bond is helpful.
I think that questioning is really helpful too, though, because I am a very like jump in and do it, like don't even think twice about it person. And Amber is a very like, well, wait, did you think about this? And I'll go, oh no, I didn't. Oh no, that was such a terrible idea. What was I thinking? So it works out really well when she like questions everything. It doesn't work out as well when I tell her like, oh my gosh, this customer said this, and then she asks me follow-up questions. And I'll be like, I didn't ask all any questions at all. I'm so sorry. She's like, but now I have all these questions.
And no, I feel like you leave me hanging all the time with these stories. I'm
All
like,
the time, all the time. Right. I have so many regulars, and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this person has this wonderful thing, and she wants to know everything." I'm like, "I don't know. You'll have to ask him when you see him."
Well, even the prep for this, I was messaging Victoria, and she kept asking me questions. She goes, Amber likes to really know what's going to happen and be really prepared. And I'm like, well, we're just going to have a casual conversation. Tell her not to worry about it.
It's so funny. I was like, I'm nervous. I have no problem with chatting with people, but I felt unqualified. It's just like, what could I have possibly to say that would be interesting enough to listen to? You know, I don't know.
Well, you definitely have a lot of interesting things to say. I feel like I wish we could keep you both and talk to you forever, but we'll have to make sure that we have another session. We'll have you back on. But I did want to know too. Yes, and I'm going to come taste test. Perfect. But before that happens, the most important part, I do have one last question for you both, and I'm curious how each one of you answers it. Is So what's next for Bean Water? So what do you see in the future? And you can say there's no wrong answer here. So you could say like here's some things we're planning in the next 6 months, or here's like our big pie in the sky vision. It's whatever you want to say, but I'm just curious and I would love to hear an answer from both of you.
Ooh, you want to start, Victoria?
Um, sure. So our vision is still to have a brick and mortar one day. We still really want to have that. We're both like this whole conversation, I think, has been all about learning. And it's come up a few times that we are just like lifelong learners and we're always about educating ourselves. And like one of the things that we both would love to see is just group opportunities for students in our community to be able to come in and help with homework in any subject, whatever it is, because it doesn't matter what the subject is. You can always learn together what the answers might be. And I would still really, really love to see that a little bit sooner down the line. There is a possible vision for some property that we might be able to get involved in to be able to change our where we're located and create a more community-based
Mhm.
space with different offerings.
Yes. Yeah, which is really excited. I'm excited about that prospect. Uh, yeah, and I think, and for me, similar. Ultimately, the goal is to create this community space that we've envisioned from the get go. And in the long run, I would love to bring on a lot more food, specifically food that caters to the adventurers, the healthy soul. I think Victoria and I are both uh, healthy people, and we would love there to be more options for people who are going out and adventuring and they want a quick, healthy grab and go. Um, and the short term, I am just hoping that we can uh, it kind of improve our marketing in the community because we still have people who are like, "Oh, I didn't know you were here." And I would love to be a little more visible is the word I'm looking for. I'd like to be a little more visible. I love where we're at the library, but I feel like we get easily missed. So that's kind of my short-term goal is to figure out how to do that, and the long-term goal is to create this community space.
I love it. Well, I'm so excited for what both of you have planned. Can't wait to taste your drinks. And hopefully, our listeners will come swarm out and check you both out as well. So, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. This was so fun to talk about coffee for the last 45 minutes. So, thank you again. Um, if you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help us to reach more people, to have conversations about money, and to meet incredible people like Victoria and Amber. And with that said, we'll see you all next time on Drip Trickle Flow Flood. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Victoria and Amber, again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.